Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Decod3rs channel and Decod3rs space. Today, we have Rawr from Frakt, and we're going to talk about lending and borrowing on the Solana blockchain because that's what you're doing like Rawr with Frakt,
Yep.
and that's going to be an interesting topic for sure. And thank you so much, man, for accepting my invitation, to the show. That really happy to have you here.
With pleasure. Thank you for having us. It's really a pleasure to be able to chat with you and showcase a bit what we've been up to as well.
Yes, and that's exactly what we are going to do in the next hour. That's going to be fantastic. But before anything else, I would like to introduce you all to one of our sponsor of the channel, the Helio platform. So for every Decod3rs members that you already know them, basically they are a paywall, Web3 paywall, and we are using it to develop or watch to earn meta, which is you get a benefit from watching our videos like this one, while you get token, you can enter raffle, etc., while watching our streams. And we choose to do that because to create to add the new layers of the creators economy. And Helio is one of our partners. So also, if you have an upcoming mint or if you have merch to sell, you can also use Helio. So just have a look. There is links in the description. You can also scan the QR code that you can see in the banners on the show. And that's it. That's it about Helio. Check them out. Check the event on Decod3rs. That's Helio link. And now that you can enjoy the show while getting rewarded. And Rawr, you told me Helio, you know them, right? So you know the team, right? It's definitely a good product to be with.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, maybe I'm biased because they're friends as well, right? But no, they're definitely a good team. Definitely focused on making sure that people get a lot of services, and they're a bunch of very cool guys. So shout out to Jim.
Let's go. But man, let's focus on Frakt, man. So you're sharing the homepage of the application. So we're going to do a demo a bit later on. But we're gonna start with a little introduction about you and Frakt itself for the two people in the back of the chat who don't know exactly what Frakt is doing just yet. Can you make a quick introduction about it?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, just to give you a bit of a rundown, right? Because some people have heard of Frakt for different reasons. So we started the Solana journey back in June of 2021. And we actually started as an NFT collection of fractal art, so generative art on Solana blockchain. At the beginning, the Frakt project was actually a hackathon project to be able to mint on Solana, because back then it was way before Candy Machine, so there was no minting standards. Then happened the summer of 2021, everything goes up, everything moons pretty hard. The Frakt collection actually minted out, which was by the founders, and I quote Tim, unexpected. But everyone was very happy that because the idea was really, okay, we'll do something on the chain and we'll see if it works. And awesome, we could mint, but the mint out was not really expected, so it happened. And then seeing the team always had a very strong, I would say, technical background and a very strong will to deliver utility to the ecosystem. We started with a first type of product in September 2021, and that was doing a launchpad for Gen art collections. So we would be taking care of all the minting aspect, and they would just be able to focus on generative art. Between September and December 2021, we launched 7 collections with various success depending on one to the other, but that really kind of established ourselves in, okay, we do like providing utility, right? And then came October 2021. So in parallel, we also developed, I think it was the first, if not the first, it was one of the first staking contracts on Solana. So stake your NFT to get tokens back in terms of emissions. And so that was a first for us, and we were very happy about it, because I think today's NFTs definitely became a part of utility for a lot of collections to have, be able to stake the NFT, because it it helps with a lot of different dimensions, I think. And then November 2021, we went to the Solana Breakpoint event that actually signaled the absolute top of Solana. And so I like to think it's not because of us, but yeah, who knows? But yeah, so we went there and we actually showcased fractionalization of NFTs on chain, and it was the first time that was done as well on Solana. So that was a very it was a very interesting technical feat, but back then, I think the ecosystem was just not really interested in, the technicality of it, or in, the use cases that you could do with that. But anywho, we were very happy to do that because it really established us into a very interesting DeFi slash NFT vein that we kept on pushing in 2022. So 2022 comes, and what happens there, in a nutshell, we started developing NFT pools, which is basically the ancestor, if we can say that, of AMMs. And on the second thing that we started pushing is we started pushing the lending borrowing business case by acquiring the pawnshop gnomies. So we merged with them back in March of last year, and we actually, that's the reason why we acquired the NFT collection. We kind of merged the 10,000 Frakt NFTs with the 5,555 gnomies, and we built up the ecosystem since then. So they had an MVP. I think the TVL back then was maybe 500 or 1,000 SOL, which was very small in comparison. And then we grew through the whole year, and we peaked at 500,000 SOL in TVL last year. And then, a lot of things happen, collections, either go away on other chains, or, things happen with collections. So the TVL is very, I would say, impacted by the dynamics of certain NFT collections. But in terms of tractions and daily active users, we keep on pushing through, which is very, very important for us, that we can keep on gathering users with what we provide as a service, because we really try to add as much added value as possible, to the ecosystem and to the users. And that's what we've been focused on very, very hard for the last almost 2 years now, actually.
Yeah, man, like you are the true OG builders on Solana, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think we've been, indeed. We've seen many cycles.
Yeah, and like not a lot of people can say that.
No, at the end of yeah, indeed. No, we do sound like grandpas, like that have lived things that nobody will live again, and we kind of sound sometimes a bit like, oh yeah, okay, old guys, fuck you, we'll do whatever we want. Yeah,
So
sorry for the language.
Yeah, no, man, that's okay. Like swearing is poetry, bro.
Okay, cool.
Like, and is that a curse, or is that like a benediction to be that OG on the chain?
That's a good question, actually, right? Because it's a bit of a double-sided blade. Some people say, yeah, well, it's good because it shows that you have experience, it shows that you have resilience. So that, when you have a black swan event like FTX, where everything for us, actually, it was out of 2022, that was probably one of the best days in terms of revenue generated within the platform, because we have, the contract. Yeah, in terms of volume, and the contract executed everything perfectly. So nothing, nothing died. And so it was really an efficient day for us. At the same time, then people say, "Oh, you've been in so long for the ecosystem. What else do you want to bring to the ecosystem?" Like, because the cycles are so short, and sometimes projects they how to say that, they're so hyped on such a short time frame, that people sometimes, when you've been there for quite some time, they ask you, okay, but what else can you bring to the table, right? And that's something I think that, luckily for us, we always try to keep in touch with how the ecosystem is, how everything is moving left and right, how collections are also evolving themselves, because then we also have to adjust, right? The product, for example, that we have today, is definitely, I would say, very much catered to how the ecosystem is today. And that product evolved a lot in the last year and a half. So as long, I think, as you stay flexible, as you stay agile, and you should not be afraid to pivot if need be. I think it's fine, right? I think it's really, I think that's really the key to be an OG, and to be, I would say, quote unquote, a good OG. Not just someone that delivered something a year and a half ago, and then you just sit on your success and do nothing, right? Because that's definitely something that we don't want to do.
Yeah, and that's not last too long anyway in the NFT world, right? So
the competition is insane.
Yeah,
you will get replaced. Better people are going to come around. I mean, if it really, I would say, pushes the narrative of, okay, yeah, Solana or whatever chain is going to be onboarding more and more talent, then the competition is going to get more and more, challenging, which is good
Yeah.
because then it pushes you to actually produce products that go beyond expectations, and you really try now then to push in a constructive way the ecosystem further. So yeah.
And like when you see like competition coming like left and right in the like the MM world, like do you also see volume coming on Frakt, because like this competition is bringing like more eyes on like the MM part, like and lending and borrowing, or you losing market share every time there is a new MM on Sol?
No, I think in terms of AMM, so if we split AMM and Frakt, right? I mean,
Okay.
Frakt is redoing, lending, borrowing. That's the core business of Frakt, and next
Yeah,
to
true,
that,
true, true.
we helped develop, HeyDeSwap, and
Yeah.
that's something that we operated as a quote unquote a dev shop, even though we are actively developing on it. That's more I would say the category. So for us, it's actually the more liquid the ecosystem is, the better. Because for us, in the positioning that we have for loans, we want to help, obviously, NFTs become more liquid, because then people can borrow against them. And now we're going even a step further with the bonds, is when you borrow against an NFT or when you lend money, you can now, for example, trade your position away, right? So if you provide liquidity, actually the technicalities of it is, simply put, you're basically trading fungible tokens between borrowers and lenders, instead of just trading some kind of a title that ties the ownership of the loan or the amount of money that you put in there. So we've made it more liquid. And so for us, when you have AMMs left and right, that implies that, for one, everyone is aiming to go for more liquidity, which is good because it drives up then the liquidity overall in the ecosystem. And for borrowing and lending, it's actually very efficient, because then if we have to, for example, if we have to liquidate an asset, let's say, right, if we go for a whole process but we end up with an NFT anywho on our lap, then we have plenty of solutions to get rid of the NFT at a market price.
And that's good. Okay, so yeah, like it's basically adding even more liquidity in terms of like, yeah, which is good for the ecosystem, right? Because even it's kind of tricky, because like we can see, like we saw that with like on the timeline with like the Blur discussion, that saying, oh yeah, but like Blur is like killing the floor price of project. And like if you ask a question to like the Blur CEO, the guy is saying, yeah, but it's because with our application, like we're adding like more liquidity, and by instead of having a floor price that is like basically pumped and like faked value, because there is no volume at that price, but on paper it looks good. That liquidity that you bring also, like it's good for the ecosystem, because again it's more mature and like allow people to trade at the fair value of that collection, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's as if you compare it to a low cap shitcoin, right?
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
have a low cap shitcoin, you can pretty much, with the liquidity that you have, you can pretty much drive the price to any type of price that you want.
Yeah.
And then once it's there, that's it, right? You can either also trade it down if someone dumps heavily and so on. And I think with AMMs and the idea that it kind of blocks or does not enable collections to actually go up in volume, I think it's a bogus statement. If you look, for example, at Claynosaurus, they ripped their floor prices even though they've been heavily traded on AMMs. So it's got nothing to do with that. It's just that with AMMs, your liquidity is a lot more concentrated on the floor price. And if you make the parallel with any type of coin, it's the same thing, right? When you look at if you look at a BTC USD pair, for example, being traded, and if you put market profiles, you will see with market profiles that you always have a tendency to be towards the actual, I would say, agreement price at which the coin is being traded. Sometimes what happens is, you have a god candle up or down because there is no liquidity at that moment.
Yeah,
and at some point, maybe the market is going to go up in one take. And it's the same thing that could happen with NFTs. If at some point on an AMM, the liquidity at a certain price level is somewhat low and it gets absorbed, and the next price is, I don't know, 25% up, then you're going to have the equivalent of a 25% up candle.
Yeah,
And
no,
so, yeah, it's just I think it's good for the ecosystem, because it also then it's a good indicator when people are kind of new to the ecosystem, because before it was kind of the theory of, okay, let's sell this NFT collection on them and then I can dump on my followers type of thing, right? So it's it was a bit the meta for a lot of people and a lot of grift influencers. yeah, it's I think it's maturing. I think it's a sign of maturity for me.
No, that's good. And like, yeah, you know, it's like the collection asking like their holders to delist so they can like pump on the floor price and like get like put more eyes on the project because they have like catch up on like the analytics dashboard that we can have. And then like if you look at the data, it's just like 20 people who delist the fucking floor price, their floor NFTs, but there's no sales.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. It's really I think we're gonna, I mean, hopefully we're gonna structurally migrate away from these type of behaviors. That, you know, you really have a healthy behavior for price discovery for your NFT collection, and that NFTs can be traded in a more liquid way. I think is really the goal of all of these, you know, technologies being put in place now for DeFi NFT.
Yeah. Like the upcoming months and years for NFT market will be fascinating because we're just at the beginning of it, and like in the last year and a half on Solana, like we have built like so many shit, and Frakt has been like building left and right too, and participate in that ecosystem like 100%. And that's if you can like take the imagine like the next 6 months here, like until the next bull run, man, we will have like so many tools at our disposition to make those little JPEG even more expensive.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I think it's indeed it's the goal, right? To have an infrastructure that can really sustain the next X thousand or millions of users, and then you can really have a good ecosystem that matures, right? Because we have to make sure that the Solana of the next bull run is more mature than the previous one.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And like, okay, so I've been like your tweet from Frakt about like the bond product. And also share it with our like YouTube commenters and live chatter, so everyone have like an idea of what we are talking about here. So yeah, you launched like the bonds on Frakt. So what it is, like how that works, and maybe we can do a demo now, like next
for sure.
after that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna quickly explain. Well, actually, it's not that complex, right? So if you guys are used to borrowing and lending, you have different type of models, right? So you have a model in which you have it's called peer-to protocol, and that is something that we used to do, and we still do it on the platform. You can basically go here, for example, when you go flip loans, so you can see there's an amount of liquidity, and that liquidity is provided by, you know, people that do park the liquidity there. But you basically borrow against that pool of liquidity. So that means that what you get is instant. You don't have to wait for someone to match your demand for a loan, right? And that is something that's been basically the main aspect of our business case. Is we can offer instant liquidity, but the trade-off is the LTV. The LTV is the loan to value, so that is the amount of money that you get for your NFT depending on the floor price of it. So let's say you know, you look at Decod3rs, for example. Let's round it up, right? The floor price of a Decod3rs is 1,000 SOL, let's say, right? Not yet, but soon enough, I think. Let's say the LTV is for us in the protocol between 40 to 50%, because if we give a higher LTV to Decod3rs, let's say we give 900 SOL for 1,000 SOL NFT, if price fluctuation happens, it's not going to just impact the users, it's going to impact all the users from all the other loans. So there is a systemic risk if we give more SOL for the users because we do peer-to protocol. Whereas when you do, for example, the model of peer-to-peer or peer-to order book, the risk is not on the protocol, the risk is on the lenders, right? Because peer-to-peer, let's say you and I, we want to do, you know, you have a Decod3rs and you need liquidity, and I have some liquidity and I'm okay to give it to you. I'm okay to give that to you, for example, at 95% LTV. So I'm going to give you a lot of money because I don't mind getting the Decod3rs back, and I'm the one taking the risk on me. And so that's basically what we've done with the bonds, right? We've taken the peer-to-order book model. And here, for example, you can see a bit what does it exactly look like if we click on a specific collection. I will go in detail after, not to, you know, lose everyone. But here, this is pretty much what it would look like on an order book. And the idea is technically we match the demand and the offer between individuals, right? And the idea that we go further, because the first question people may have is, oh, okay, but then you're doing exactly like Sharky, right? Well, Sharky has the peer-to-order book model, so they do a similar model. What we do differently is that you will be actually the bonds are fungible tokens. So when someone wants to
Okay.
borrow within our platform, they actually create tokens equivalent for the NFT that they are providing for the bonds. Then the lenders actually, well, they buy actually those tokens to provide the liquidity to the borrower. And so by doing that, you actually create a very liquid market because you enable people to also partially fund, right? Because something that is really cool with the bonds is, let's say you have 50 SOL and you would like to park that liquidity, you would like to provide the liquidity to an NFT collection like the SMBs or a Decod, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go on Sharky, you can't do that. You have to provide a full loan amount. With
Okay.
us, you can partially fund. You can put 50 SOL and then someone else can complete it. And then you will be basically enjoying the same APY
That's pretty
that
cool.
you would be. Yeah, because then you give exposure to blue chip collections to smaller wallets. And so
Yeah.
it's a good incentive for people to get involved with the ecosystem in that way.
Is that comparable to like international finance as a derivative market?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
This
Okay.
is exactly that. Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
idea. And that's
That's
where
massive, man.
yeah. And that's where we feel very comfortable with that type of technology, right? And it's not been done on ETH either. So right on ETH, you have a couple
Okay.
of models, same models we have on Solana, but the bonds for us is really the biggest improvement that we could bring to the ecosystem of lending. And for example, here, let's say I want to provide a bond myself. Let's see, check if I'm connected. Let's see, project nomies, activity. Okay, so here you have on the right the order book, right? So you see the amount of SOL that can be provided with what LTV, and you have basically, depending on the LTV, different type of interest rate, duration, and so on. So you really have a full split of what it looks like. Let's say
Okay.
I want to be on that order book, right? I want to place an offer with the liquidity that I have. So I'm going to be, okay, what type of LTV am I ready to fund? So you can
Mm-hmm.
really see here, your offer sliding up and down depending on terms of LTV. So it places you in the order book. Then you can pick the duration of the loan. And then you can pick the size as well. How much are you willing to fund? Let's say I only have 5 SOL now on my wallet, then I'm just going to put 5 SOL there. You put the interest rate that you want, say 4%. And then you basically can pay regarding the repayments and the defaults. You can have either you compound. So if you compound, that implies that if it goes through and then you get paid back, you will initiate another loan with the same terms with the compounded interest attached to it. So you keep on compounding your loan basically. So it
Okay.
automatically does it for you if you do that. If you do receive in wallet, then once it's done, you just receive in wallet whatever your amount plus the interest that you got. Defaulting. So defaulting is when you fund, for example, a full loan. You can take on the risk of, let's say, you want to fund a full DGuards, but you are okay if the DGuards gets defaulted to actually receive the DGuards instead of receiving liquidity. So that's also
Yeah.
something that is possible for you.
I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I bet. And so yeah, that enables you to be super flexible, right?
Nice. That's pretty
And
cool,
some
man.
Yeah, and that's more of a I would say that's people can really manage these type of offers manually, which is then a bit more of a I would say professional usage. That's also kind
Yes.
of the audience that we're targeting for the lenders, because we definitely, with the flexibility that we can offer, the liquidity of people is not inefficient, right? Because
Mm.
here, if you have, for example, 1,000 SOL, instead of focusing on providing 5 loans of 200 SOL, you could basically split so many things, because you can do partial fundings left and right if you want. You can put 200 SOL on a DGuards, and then you can put 100 on the SMBs for whatever
Mm-hmm.
type of LTV you want. And so for us, that's really the core thing of the product, because on top of that, the terms that you get for borrowers are extremely good in terms of fees as well, because you pay very little fees on these type of loans. Um, Something as well that we want to focus on, and so this is pretty much something that we've had for quite some time, but I think is very interesting, is we put ourselves in the shoes of the users, right? So the users usually, when they go to a lending protocol, they're not thinking, okay, I have an SMB and I can get an LTV of 55% on it. Awesome. They say, okay, shit, I need 10 SOL for the next mint, right? That's more the logic that people go for, right? So
Mm-hmm.
here, let's say with the NFTs I have, I can borrow up to 10 SOL. So I'm going to say, okay, you know what? I actually have a need for 75 SOL, let's say, right? So let's go. And we have an algorithm that's actually going to be looking now at my wallet and proposing
Nice.
3 type of loans. So either I can have the best one, which is the most appropriate here. So I would be borrowing on a perpetual loan, for example, here for my SMB, or I can do here the cheapest. So I will pay the less fees on this one by having 3 loans at the same time, or here is going to be the safest. So this is going to be the lowest LTV. And so with this proposition, I can say select, and that's it.
Okay. And okay, so are you targeting like the power user of Solana with that kind of tool?
We're actually targeting everyone in a way. So for the borrowers, we very much targeting definitely the users that do borrow a lot, because you can do bulk. You can do everything in bulk via our platform. So that's really the aspect of, I would say, the NFT users. And for the lending, we are targeting 2 types of audiences there. We are targeting the people that just want to park liquidity, because what we'll have as well, that what we'll be releasing within the platform are called strategies. So imagine if you say, okay, I've got 100 SOL and I have a risk appetite of, a certain degree. You are very risky, let's say. So that implies that you could pick a strategy that is going to be automatically dispatching your 100 SOL among the riskiest assets, but on which you may have the higher return. And so basically, you can build up that own strategy, right? It's as if you go on Binance and you say, okay, look, I've got 10K. Distribute the 10K on the riskiest asset. I'm okay to take the risk on. And then there's a bot that basically will be distributing the money on different type of shitcoins, and then you may have or you may not have a successful trading experience. This is the same thing here with the strategies that we have. And also what people can do is that they can build their own strategies, because we have collections that are very good at providing liquidity, for example, Turtles Ventures and so on.
Yes.
And what they could do is become strategists themselves. So let's say Turtle Ventures has a very good way. They know, they have very good strategies. They could actually publish the strategies, and people could be copy trading them in a way. And so it makes it super interesting, because
That's cool.
so yeah, that's pretty much the I would say the main thing that we are focused on right now is bringing attention to the tools that we can offer, because when people don't know what we do, then it's difficult for them to try it out and to realize, oh well, okay, it's actually very interesting because it's cheaper, and at the same time, if I have liquidity, it's interesting for me because, well, I'm not wasting APY on my liquidity that I'm parking.
Yeah. Okay. And like, is there a case where like you use like a collection that have a lower floor price than Decod or SMB, like with small collection, like I don't know, like 10 SOL or even like 1 SOL floor price collection?
Yeah, no, definitely. You can do that with anything. As you can see here, for example, we have every type of collection that is, put here on the bonds. The floor price itself doesn't change much as long as the collection is quote unquote liquid, right? If people are borrowing and lending against it, then the liquidity is there. Since it's peer to order book, you can basically list any type of collection. That's the beauty of it. And if people don't have any interest in these collections, well, they're not going to be proposing terms. Whereas even if it's 1 SOL, 2 SOL, 5 SOL, then there's still appetite for these collections, and people can still provide liquidity to these collections just to make them tradable.
Yes. Okay. So like you mentioned earlier, that even if I only have like 5 SOL, 10 SOL, I can also provide liquidity for a Decod collection, and like
Exactly.
it will be filled up by other people who have more liquidity than me, but I still benefit from like the volume of that collection and the benefit of
Exactly
of it. Yeah, man, that's
Look
cool.
at that. For example, like OK Bears, right? On my wallet, I have 5 SOL. You can see here OK Bear. I can say place offers, and I'm like, okay, cool. I want to have a high LTV, and then I'm going to be placing basically my 5.9, and then I will be on the order book.
Okay, so everyone should use Frakt at some point in their life, right?
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, this is if everyone puts 5 SOL on any type of collection, basically you make the order book a lot more liquid. Because then when we want to enable people to keep on borrowing instantly, right? Because in an ideal world, people have dispatched their liquidity all along the curve. And if people dispatch their liquidity all along the curve, when you go and borrow, you can actually borrow instantly for any type of risk appetite that you have. And that's what we want to encourage.
Nice. Okay. And is that the performances, like, for example, okay, if I have like SOL and I don't want to take risk, I'm going into staking, right? Like I mean, I can do that. I just like take my 5% and then I'm happy with that. Like, what are the on the risk line, like of the, if you take a line and if you define like staking is basically zero risk, and like like the highest value is like basically like the Jane mindset shit. Where is Frakt here? Like where do you put like Frakt on this risk management?
Actually, Frakt has the ambition to really be the Aave of Sol. So I don't know if you know Aave.
Nice.
So it's
Yes,
it's on
yes,
ETH,
yes.
and the idea is really to provide safe and reasonably high return for the liquidity that you're staking there, but also it's the safety and the sustainability and the efficiency also combined to just being consistent, and that's what we aim at being. Everything that we're providing in terms of for example, when you park liquidity with us, that's also one of the reasons why with the bonds, if at some point you park the liquidity, someone is borrowing against you, so your liquidity is quote unquote frozen, it can actually sell your position if you want to kind of not be in that position anymore. That's something that's possible. That's why the bonds enable you to do.
Okay.
And we've actually established that as well by a while ago already releasing the perpetual loans, because perpetual loans is simply opening a credit line against an NFT that you have, and there's no time limit. You can basically you open a credit line, you're going to have to pay a certain amount of fees per year if the floor price doesn't move, but you have your liquidity, and that's it. And that's really what we aim at being. So I would say
that's cool.
Closer to staking than full degen. Okay, I'm going to put my money in a blender.
Let's go. And that's interesting. Okay, so and what are the risks? What's the worst case scenario when I'm getting wrecked?
The worst case scenario in getting wrecked actually is on the token itself, right? So it's on the Sol token itself. If like it happened, for example, with when FTX happened, the protocol itself is always going to be working as it should. So it's going to be dispatching demand offer. You're not going to get wrecked on that regard. But if you have an asset that crashes, you kind of are being victim of a very heavy impermanent loss type of event. And there, you will be wrecked on the value that you were holding, right? But in terms of risk itself, then the risk that you also have is if you go for high risk type of loans, let's say you go 99. I'm reading the comments as well. I found actual lending really easy, but finding my soul when recouping was much more challenging. What do you mean finding your soul? That's what finding your soul back. But yeah, here back on the explanation. So for example, if you go for a high risk loan for yourself, obviously you're going to be accepting high risk, right? If the flow fluctuates a lot, you might get wrecked. But then it's also up to you and your risk appetite. That's why we're not pushing on the audience a risk of a certain level. Let's say we have, we are very risky. It's not like we are forcing everyone to adopt the very risky risk. We offer everyone to take a risk that they're willing to accept. And that is the reason why either for borrowers or for lenders, we've really tried our best to be able for people with any type of risk appetite to actually find happiness in using the protocol. Same thing when you borrow, right? Sometimes people, like I said, right, you can, for example, here, okay, I want, again, 75 SOL, 90 SOL, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to pick one NFT because I think it's too risky. So I'm going to go for the safest. I'm going to split my loan with the lower LTV. So whatever happens in terms of price fluctuation, I will not get liquidated.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
At least I'm limiting the risk, right? Because I mean, in terms of black swan events, well, obviously people will get wrecked because of the intrinsic value, but not because the protocol is failing.
That makes sense. And like, have you get like more liquidation during like the FTX events or even like last year?
Yeah, no, definitely. There was definitely liquidation events, but the liquidation events were handled properly, right? That's one of the key things of lending protocols is, okay, on one hand, you have to make sure that, borrowers and lenders, they meet in the middle, you have good terms, it works. But one of the key component actually of lending protocol is the liquidation mechanism. You have, as a protocol, to stay liquid, right? That's the end game. The more you stay liquid, the more you can thrive through any type of market conditions. And that's really one of the things that we handled quite well. It was really the liquidations. So we had a liquidation mechanism in place that really helped with dispatching the NFTs, even if the price dropped, there was still appetite to buy that. And in the case of, okay, wow, the market is not absorbing these NFTs anymore, we also are building up what is called an insurance fund. So in case of bad debt, we can honor the lenders using that insurance fund.
Okay, that's good. And what's the size of this insurance fund?
So the size of it is actually right now, it's just, we tap into the treasury in a way because we are building it up as of now. That's
Okay.
also one of the main things that we are raising for the strategic round, is that we want
Nice.
to have a good bootstrapped insurance fund. But we haven't had to tap into that insurance fund at all, if ever, just for one event, and that was absorbed quite quickly. And I think the amount in total was 600 SOL, 600 or 650 SOL.
So yeah, you have to you will have to build that a little bit more.
Yeah,
I guess.
indeed. But the thing is that people, degens, right? So
Yeah,
when the
also.
market is when the market is bad, they borrow because they need cash, which is fine. That's why we're here for. But when the market is good, they borrow because they are over leveraging the position on collections. So they try to push the floor because they borrow against the NFT to buy more NFTs. So you basically over leverage yourself on an NFT collection. And then if the price floor drops, then well you have a liquidation event. You have cascading liquidations, and then people can get absolutely wrecked.
And what's the targeted amount for this insurance fund that you want to have?
I think in terms of targeted amount, it's a good way to have around 500 to
Okay,
750k
that's good. Yeah,
USD. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
good.
the idea is really, it is an insurance, right? It stays there, it's on a wallet. In case something happens, we tap into it, and it's always the insurance fund. It always has to grow, kind of depending on the size of TVL that you're handling and type of risk that you're absorbing. And that's something that is, it can vary through time, but I think it's a good target to start with that with the raise that we are doing.
Nice, and that's pretty cool. And in terms of market size, like, do you think like Solana is like big enough right now, or even like in the future, maybe like in the next bull market, like to have like multiple platform and like lending and borrowing, or like do we need to grow like to see like valuable utility, not utility, but like a valuable market size for all of those companies and projects that doing the same
Yeah.
actually?
Actually, it's a good question. I think at this point, we're still in an ecosystem, regardless of the size, that the improvements being made on the protocols are beneficial for all, right? I think the community right now is still clustered in terms of, it's still not necessarily going for the best product just yet. Because people have you have also a different type of attachment that is created by having NFT collections, and then you create stickiness within your protocol. So sometimes people may use a protocol even if it's not
Okay.
necessarily the best on the market, but they will stick with that protocol because loyalty slash advantages slash
Yes.
habit, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think the Solana ecosystem and the size of it itself, even if it keeps on growing a bit, it's always interesting for protocols such as ours to explore multi-chain. Why? Because if we have a product that can leverage this technology and we can offer it to different type of chains, knowing, for example, that on ETH nobody right now is doing what we're doing, then we could definitely have an edge as well in capturing market share there and reinforcing our position as a protocol. Because the aspect for us is not to migrate away, so to stop services on Solana and then go somewhere else. The idea for us is to expand the product offering, right? It's really as if you compare it to a business, that's doing quite well in Europe. Well, that business at some point may want to go to the US or may want to go to Asia, right? And it's the same thing for us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, is like the any limitation? But I mean, you said like you want to be heavy and they're on it, right? And multi-chain.
Yeah.
So yeah, any limitation of doing like what we're doing right now on Solana because of the high transaction speed, etc. Or like it's also in your like interest to expand to Polygon, if BNB, whatever.
Yeah, I think right now the advantages definitely of having leveraged Solana is the cost of the chain, right? Because we could try so many things at a very cheap cost compared to, for example, ETH. And now that we have the technology in place and that we can start scaling up, I think it's very interesting now to start exploring chains. EVM chains like.
And you're basically a way of like you will be integrated with all of them.
Yeah.
Did you hear me? Like I think I got some frame lost. Yeah, drop a
Yeah,
bit.
there was a
Whatever.
quick drop, but it's fine now.
That was exactly what happened yesterday. Fair enough. But that's really impressive, man. Like what you have built in the last 2 years and what you continue to push, man. It's good for the ecosystem. Really happy like to have you on the chain. And like if anyone in the audience have any question, like don't hesitate to jump on the stage on the Twitter space. Don't Remember that you will also be on YouTube stream at the same point. So yeah, take your 15 minutes of being famous. And if you have any question in the YouTube live stream, yeah, just ask in the live chat, and we will take those questions. And yeah, also, man, you're launching a new collection with your new PFP, right? On the thumbnail and on the Twitter space, we can see that. It's pretty cool. It's a cute one.
Thank you.
So yeah, what's up with that? What's the goal of the collection, and what will be the incentive for holders to use the platform?
So pretty much what we've been trying to do with the collection, right, is that we want to simplify how people can get exposure to Frakt. If you look at Frakt right now, it's 2 NFT collections, different type of sizes, different type of point distribution. It is confusing if you look at it that way on a first glance, right? And a lot of times, people, they just want something quite simple, and in their minds, if it's not simple, then it's going to be too convoluted, and they're not attracted to it. So what we try to do with actually what we are aiming at achieving doing with this PFP collection is, so simply put, you'll be able to migrate your Frakt and Orgnomy to for free for one of the PFPs. So it's going to be randomly generated for you, and then next to that as well, what we're doing is that in order to expand and to grow the community that we currently have, we also are going to be minting a extra supply of 4.5k roughly. The reason behind this is, quite frankly, on one hand, to grow and to push further the communities, and on the second hand, well, we want to leverage the funds that we'll be raising. 20-30% will be going to the runway, and 70% will be going to the protocol on liquidity, so we can really bootstrap the liquidity of the Frakt ecosystem further as well. And beyond that, for us, that PFP is going to be basically one of the gates of obtaining utility within the protocol. So we'll also be releasing the token, right? We have currently a token that is circulating, but we're raising for a token, and the new token will basically be taking over the previous one. And in terms of balancing, we'll be having 60% of the utility that will be PFP heavy, and 40% of the utility that will be token heavy. And in terms of utilities, it's sustainable revenue sharing depending on the performances of the platform. You can check it out. If you go on docs.frakt.xyz, we have the model laid out here in detail. But in a nutshell, it's really that we want the tokenomics, either for the PFP or for the token itself, to be sustainable, but also to be neutral in terms of how does it grow and how does it empower the ecosystem. And we've been going at these tokenomics for a very long time, and we feel very confident about the model that we have now, because it's something that really is not. It's not going to be pumponomics, right? But it's going to be sustainable growth. It's going to be sustainable revenue for the ecosystem, and it's going to be basically incentivizing usage as well as sharing. Because we do have, and people will be able to see that next week. So it's a bit of an alpha, but we're actually releasing a Frakt listing app for the whitelisting collection. And through that whitelisting app, you're going to be able to actually refer friends or communities in order to enable them to participate on the leaderboard to potentially have the chance at winning a whitelist spot.
Oh, that's cool. Do you have some room from Decod3rs community?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, we do. So definitely going to be a very exciting couple of weeks. Definitely going to be ramping up the attention in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And yeah, we're very excited about it, because we also wanted to have a PFP that was recognizable, but also very, you can identify yourself to the PFP. I mean, when you will see all the details that we put out there, it's very CT centric. So we do have iconic CT personalities, so not members, but real personalities of memes and whatnot in there, and typical cool collection stuff. So Tanik has done a great job there, so we're very happy about it.
Yeah, definitely. Like the PFP, on the space right now, that I'm looking at it, it's pumping, man. We can only see this Frakt PFP, man.
Yeah, I think indeed the green background is really helping. Yeah,
it's colorful.
So that's the idea.
I can't wait to see a space with 100 Frakt PFP. That's gonna be like you. I will need my sunglasses to watch that kind of spaces, man.
Yeah, you might add another shade as well.
Exactly. And I forgot to mention, but do you have a paper trading platform when people can test and evaluate their loan and play with the platform without putting SOL on the table right away?
Actually, what you can do, so you can go quite far in the protocol without actually signing the transaction. So
Okay, okay.
if you have a bit of Sol, if you have a few NFTs on your wallet, you can really play around here.
Okay.
So I've played around quite far here during the demo without actually signing any transaction. You can really
Yeah, no,
go
true.
and play with all the gauge that you have. So for example, same thing here. If you want to do lending,
Yeah.
if you want to go on bonds, same thing. You click on the collection, you go on activity. You can see a bit the activity there. Okay, a couple of loans provided there. Place offers, and here you can
Mm.
really play with everything, and you see how everything changes on the order book, and you don't have to go on with anything. Like I
Nice.
said,
Oh.
right, since you can provide fractionalized, fraction of
Mm.
liquidity, even if you have one Sol, you can do everything. You can actually just put one Sol somewhere on a collection if you want.
Mm. No, 100%. Okay, and is there any way that I will lose more soul that I put on the table at some point? Like what you can see in finance sometimes, like, you get liquidated and then like you because you were leveraged like 500, like you put $100, but you lost like 200.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
No, actually, yeah, no. That's it. That's because you don't put your stop limit as you should.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
No, that's I see what you mean. That
Yeah,
when you get trailed, no, you can't get retrailed here.
it's
Not yet.
completely like another. Yeah, not yet.
We're not liquid
Like,
enough to actually start trailing
yeah.
and swapping all over the place. But who knows?
That's good. And like, okay, what's missing right now on the in the ecosystem or even like on Frakt platform that you want to focus to push more, like the uh yeah, key features that you want to improve and implement?
I think right now, in terms of features, we want to make sure the strategies are really good
Mhm.
for the bonds, because it's going to really help people understand that they can park the liquidity in a way that is as risky as they want it to be.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think for us right now, right, we've got this product, and we really want to make sure that people understand how good this product is. This is really now the main key, right? We've spent a lot on product development, fine tuning it, going
Yeah.
back and forth with feedbacks, and now is really the phase of, okay, we put the baby, a little baby out there in the world, and we want to make sure that that baby gets fed nicely and that grows nicely, right? So now we're at the
Nice.
stage of, okay, we're going to be talking about that product for the next 6 months at least.
Nice. How
So it's
many how many yeah, how many daily user do you have right now?
off the top of my head, let me see. To give you an idea in terms of just
Okay.
current active loans, we have 3.8K active loans
That's
currently.
good.
Yeah.
Like that's quite
So,
that's quite
and
good.
that's a 24 hours rolling amount of loans, right? So it's
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, like in the ecosystem, like on Solana specifically, like if you already have like a couple of thousand users, man, that's massive.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
definitely, it's we're quite happy about this, and we think that, with this product, I mean, obviously it's we're going to be pushing it because we're proud of it, but we genuinely believe that if it was not good, we would not be pushing it. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been around long enough. We're not the type of people to push, to shove bad products into the faces of people.
Mm.
And we've we've been spending so much time fine tuning it and making sure that, it was going to be as best as it can be right now for the ecosystem.
Mhm.
So we're now going to definitely go full ham on this and push it as hard as we can, so people can really enjoy, that type of technology, because it's really a level up in terms of
Yeah.
DeFi NFT.
That's awesome. Like in the audience, like on Twitter and like in the YouTube chat, if you have already used Frack, like can you give me like some reaction, like give me some 100 or a couple of hertz, so we know that you already already using it, and yeah, like if you want to share with us your experience, that could be definitely interesting. Like honestly, like yeah, I haven't like went deep into it yet because
Mhm.
I'm really like yeah, buying the NFT, hold forever, and then see what happens. But like man, like after with this demo, like I definitely see myself like yeah, playing with a couple of of soul and like see what I can do with it, like 100%.
Yeah, and I think it's indeed right. You don't have to go into the crazy mode either. You
Yeah,
can really start. Okay, you see a collection that you like, and you want to provide liquidity, and you provide a bit of liquidity, and you see how it goes, right? If people start
nice.
borrowing against the orders that you put, then cool.
Mm.
So
Yeah, 100%.
it's really definitely something I think to try. I think once you try it, you get a better sense for it, and
Mhm.
it's actually you are really market making if you want to provide liquidity there. So it's really nice to do.
I want to be a market maker. That's my dream.
Nice. Well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, like for everyone in the audience, like you can check the link that I shared in the YouTube chat or a pin at the top in the Twitter space, that you will have access to the last bond product from Frakt, and yeah, we'll have a run, play with it. Like Rawr mentioned it, like you can play with our platform, not validate any transaction, and yeah, try to understand what's happening in front of your screen. But yeah, I think it will be beneficial for everyone, like to understand that kind of functionality and features, to go a little bit deeper into like yeah, the ownership of your own finance, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it's fascinating. It's cool. Like I love it. And yeah, like in terms of marketing, like how do you what's your game plan, like to explain like your community reach, and like yeah, what's your strategy here?
So the strategy is that, I mean, obviously, you know, when you are minting a PFP collection, it's the perfect setup to go to market in terms of, you know, marketing strategies, because in the ecosystem in which we are, it's very difficult to compete with that type of attention. And now that we are minting that, we are actually reaching out to all the collections, all the partners that we know, and we are involving them into the whitelisting process with the competition on the leaderboard. Because not only is that, you know, a cool way to feature us, but, you know, people have been super loyal with us as well because we've been there for so long. But not only that, is that we can actually incentivize communities to participate in it. So let's say, you know, Decod3rs, we give you guys, you know, 20 ref codes. Actually, we will flag the 20 ref codes as team Decod3rs. And what happens is that you guys will be known as Decod3rs on the leaderboard as well for team. So you can be there as an individual. So you could be there as Vince, you know, you are on the leaderboard as yourself, an individual. But then you also have your team. So you can go on the second leaderboard as a team. And there you would be incentivized to borrow or lend. And the idea as well is when you borrow or lend or you provide liquidity, whatever type of fee that you collect as your team will be going back to a wallet that you provide us with. So basically, the more revenue your team generates, it goes back to you, and it's really, you know, it's we try to make it interesting that way as well. And also for the whitelisting, having a ref code does not guarantee you to mint. So you have to compete on the leaderboard. If nobody competes on the leaderboard, then, you know, only, for example, the top X% will be selected, even if they don't have any loans or borrowing going on. But, you know, the incentive is there. So people will start, you know, providing liquidity, they will start borrowing. And so naturally, you will have more and more people using the platform, and then trying to be on the leaderboard.
Nice, that's cool. Can I? Are you going to have a bot that's gonna, like, every time someone change the rank and like get like a top 1 or top 3, like then a tweet is going on Twitter and then it's going viral?
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. But yeah, we do. I mean, we're definitely going to be leveraging that as a, you know, as a Twitter marketing as well, right? Because I think asking collections or asking partners, or could you please do a tweet with us? I think it makes sense sometimes, but if you do that with everyone, it's not, I don't know, it's been overused. It's so 2021, you know, in our eyes. Whereas if you do a leaderboard where everyone is having fun, everyone is competing, and you have partners, if partners want to do a genuine tweet out for us, right? Of course, we'll accept it. We're not going to say, no, don't tweet about this. But what we mean is that we really want to have organic engagement because we really want to grow the community that we have. Because, yeah, we feel like we feel like we deserve it. I mean, I'm going to say it. Fuck this.
Nice.
We really feel like we deserve it. So
that's good. And like, are there any founders of like the collection that ask you to like to be featured on the platform because it's benefit them too, or like is there any kind of discussion like that? Does that make sense?
Right now, it does not necessarily make sense. If a collection wants to be featured, we can always. But the idea is that we kind of stay collection agnostic to really offer, you know, a very open platform. Now, maybe, I mean, not maybe, but for sure, I know that we'll do something to incentivize certain collections to trade certain weeks because we, for example, let's say we might do no fees week for Decod3rs. You know, so that's going to be some type of, you know, marketing approach. But yeah, other than that, you know, we're trying to feature as, you know, as equally as we can.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like for example, you can have a mint, or even like tomorrow we have like today we have the reveal of Fugi. Like you can have like a marketing plan. Yeah, for the reveal, blah blah blah. But for the next 24 hours, you don't have fees and stuff. That's
exactly.
Good. Yeah. And okay, so what are your business model? How do you make money? Like, yeah. So on every loan, you take a fee. Like, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, that's the volume. Pretty much, the more volume
Yeah,
we
okay.
make, the more fees we make. That's
Nice.
one aspect of it. And the way we're going to be doing it with the new tokenomics as well, with the new token, is that we'll be providing liquidity to our own pool, and we'll have also protocol own liquidity. So with these two aspects, a part will go to the revenue of Frakt, and so to make the ecosystem grow, and then another part will be going to the team as runway. And so that's pretty much
Nice.
how we want to capitalize on everything that we've been doing.
And that's exciting, man. Like, future's bright.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully, I mean, we right now we have a bit. I'm not gonna say we have imposter syndrome, but when you have a mint lined up, you're always like, okay, shit.
Yeah.
We don't like you don't want to fumble the bag, and everyone is like, oh, but you guys, you've been there for so long, it's gonna be amazing. We're super excited about what you're doing, and we love the feedback, right? Because it really means a lot to us, because we're always so critical with ourselves, and we want to make sure that what we deliver is going to be of the highest quality, with the most sustainable approaches that we can. And so when we hear that feedback, it makes us feel good. But honestly, I don't think we're going to feel good up until way after the mint. When we see that also what's important for us is not minting. It's just beyond the mint, that people really see the added value that we have, that they really see that we have a cool community, and that we're building that really for the ecosystem.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, man, like I can see like Frakt being like the cornerstone of like the Solana ecosystem for sure. That's definitely interesting. I need to do a strategic run after the taxes.
Nice.
I need to
First
do
the taxes.
Yeah, taxes first. But yeah, because that's gonna be a big one. But like, yeah, after that, I will DM you again.
But you can actually borrow against your NFT to pay your taxes if you want.
Yeah, but
you can leverage the government.
Like, yeah. That's actually a good idea. Like that would be like a trolling level maximum.
If I end up in jail, I'm not a financial advisor. You take your risk at your own. It's you do
financial
you.
Advice, blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. And like, how are we like aware of like having liquidity and like lending and borrowing on ordinals?
We like the idea. That is for sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think it's a very liquid chain. And yeah, I think you have a lot of very capable, to not say absurdly highly fucking skilled people on that chain. So I think what we're going to be seeing is that more and more, and I mean it's been in development for quite some time, and now people are just kind of finding out about all of it. I think we're going to see more and more add-ons being made to the BTC chain, just to make sure that there are DeFi infrastructure being put in place. Also, for one of the questions that I had a couple of days ago regarding Bitcoin is, oh yeah, but it's so slow, right? It takes so long to, for example, get an ordinals.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not going to be impossible. That it's going to sound very harsh, and if Satoshi Nakamoto is listening, I'm sorry, dude, but what we could potentially do on Bitcoin is actually a remittance system, right? So if the transaction is off from a specific account, after given a certain amount of confirmation, not the full block confirmation, but enough confirmation to have a high chance of going through, that you actually kind of already have the representation of whatever was meant to be sent in the wallet. That might cut off time, right? But it's a bit technical. But I think you can explore a couple of things that way, and definitely infrastructure is being, I mean, people have been talking about Lightning Bitcoin for I don't know how many years. Now it's the time to shine, right? So show us the Lightning now.
They talk about the Lightning networks like 1 year after the fucking Bitcoin launch, man.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can pay for your coffee with 0 fees, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think jokes aside, I really think it's I love Bitcoin, and I'm very regretful to not have pushed ordinals further when I found out about it in January, because I was like, that looks interesting, these rocks, am I gonna buy them? And I was like, no way, I'm gonna buy a rock for four fucking Bitcoin. And then I see how it blew up, and once again I was the bottom signal.
a bottom signal for rock at for Bitcoin. Yeah, like makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean, yeah, for myself, right? I was like, no, I'm not going to trade that. That looks stupid. And then 5 weeks after, everyone is migrating to ordinals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you are like the anti raw like signal stuff. Like
yeah. If I see something and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything to it, just I mean, you can put your net worth. Yeah, just buy it.
Just sell the home.
Yeah, indeed. Just over leverage your position, loan everything you can on Frakt, and then off you go.
Let's go. That's what we do here, right?
Sensible advice.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Like the rational investor mindset that we want to preach on this channel, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, man, that's cool. Like, yeah, we will slightly be over an hour in a couple of seconds. So yeah, we're gonna enter the format. Like again, like if anyone in the audience have any questions for Rawr about like Frakt or anything else, like the whole industry, like the like the lending, borrowing on Solana, like do not hesitate to ask your question in the chat or on Space. And if no one shows up, maybe we can like just like slightly wrap it up. Yes, a couple of questions for you, but yeah, no, I don't see any reaction. So I don't know. Like I think they understand everything.
It's always I kind of have always a feeling it's always like that when we explain things. So I always say the same, right? If you guys have questions, you can always hop on a Discord. You can always DM us. I think we are a very accessible team. And so yeah, happy to chat with you guys. Go on Discord and yeah, in an hour we're actually having a town hall on our Discord to give some details about the Frakt PFP mint and whatnot. So if you want to hop out and hang out with us, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, and like how do you feel that how the response from the audience, like when you explain all of that features, like exactly what we have done today, right? Like, is that easy sell, or like you still need like to go into the DM to explain furthermore, like to everyone in the industry also?
Actually, it's becoming easier because people understand a bit more. And I think we've also gotten better at explaining it, right? I think it's both ways, right? We understand what the people also can relate to, right? When you explain something, for example, when I explain bonds to my girlfriend, there was no way I was going to explain that in financial instruments. So I took rice waffles and explained bonds with rice waffles, and that worked, right? So you have to adjust kind of to your audience. And no, I think the Solana ecosystem and overall people are getting a bit more used to DeFi.
Nice.
And I think that's the goal, right? If people really can level up in terms of knowledge and everything, I think we might get to some point to a maturity level similar to what the users on ETH have. And there the people will start seeing, more and more the added value of certain things. And I think that's, we're slowly trying to get there. So for us, every time we do spaces, every time we do streams, and thanks again, for giving us the opportunity to hop on here and have a chat and, showcase what we've been up to. Because it's really great for us, right? Because we get to show that and people really get to ask questions or to at least look at what's being built. And so we feel we're bringing some education, and we're happy when, if we have one guy today that will go to bed smarter than he woke up, super happy. That mission accomplished for me. It's
and that's interesting that you're practicing your pitch with your girlfriend. So like you basically have a girlfriend test, and if the pitch is good, then you can go on Twitter Space and go for it.
Indeed, I try to then migrate away from the rice waffle analogy, because then people are going to think I'm high on something, but it's just just making sure that it stakes, right? And it's the same thing with AMMs. When we first started with AMMs, I remember with HadesSwap, it was people were looking at me and looking at us a bit like, what are you guys on? Is that does that even work? And then you show a use case like Uniswap, right? When people are so accustomed to that because it's so deep in liquidity, and then when people realize, oh shit, it's actually working, it's picking up, and it's nice, and I can earn my fees, then people really understand. Like for me, AMMs, actually explaining AMMs to people is very simple when you use real life assets. When you tell them, look, instead of owning 10 NFTs, you actually own 10 cars, same cars. And then you provide liquidity and you buy and sell cars, and then you make money on the spread that you have, and then it's actually a very easy analogy.
That's definitely interesting. And man, like after like the last hours, like I can tell you that you're definitely doing a great job, because I understand more stuff during this term than before. So I'm happy with that.
Okay, awesome. Well, my job is done. Then I can
Exactly.
finally log off for the
Mission
day. Thanks.
accomplished. Yes, exactly.
All right, cool.
But yeah, I think we can like wrap it up with my like 2 closing questions. So yeah, what's a question you wish people ask you but they never do?
How are you?
Oh, you too. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
That's a bit sad, but it's always how are my bags doing and not
yeah,
how are you?
yeah. It's like the founder's dilemma, right? Like,
Yeah,
should I sleep or should I still grinding, right?
yeah, indeed, it's really that.
And so, like, yeah, how do you feel like being like a founder in the Web3 journey? Like, how do you live it?
I never thought I would feel 55 by 35. It's pretty much it, really.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
got
makes sense.
so much gray hair. I'm
Yeah.
blonde, but I can tell I'm turning gray now. So it's
Yeah, like you know, like the industry is going so fast that in 2 weeks you take 10 years of like
yeah,
technical improvement, etc. But for us too, right? Like in 2 weeks, like you just age way faster.
yeah, indeed, it's really that. It's Benjamin Button, but reverse.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah. And okay, so and then the second question is who should be the next guest, and can you make the intro?
the next guest, who should it be? Let me think. It should be Ilmoy from Tensor. So Ilmoy and
Yes.
Richard are two guys that have been building as a duo.
Yes.
They've got a bit more people on the team, but it's really a duo that's been carrying Tensor. Very further. And yeah, they're great guys, very determined, very inspiring the way that they keep on delivering. We are very good friends with them, so I might be biased,
Nice.
but we've been working together on plenty of things. And I know Tim, so it's Frakt CEO is also a very good friend with Ilmoy. So yeah, no, definitely give them the place because they have a good vision, and I think it's very interesting how they've been executing everything that they've been thinking about.
100%. Like I already have the invoice in the DM, so he's like
Nice.
scheduled for after NFT YT, like schedule like soft scheduling because they were busy. Like they don't have a lot
Yeah.
of things to do, but they were busy. Like it was weird. They were busy, so they can jump on like on the stream like right away. But yeah, they're like they are on my
Hunt
roadmap,
list.
content roadmap. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Nice.
No,
No, yeah,
yeah,
definitely Ilmoy.
yeah, no, definitely. But we can make the group chat anyway, so there will be. Oh yeah, I need to do this stream too.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. Just get me in the group. I will say that, and I
Yeah,
can
sure.
leave.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Oh, we can definitely do that. Yeah, maybe probably after NFT NYC. That's gonna be a great stream. Maybe you can co-host. We can co-host that together.
That could be fun. Yeah, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, okay. And do you have like anything that you want to share with the audience? Like any last announcement, alpha, like anything?
Any last alpha? I would say, if you want to have fun and if you want to compete on the leaderboard, feel free to join the Discord. I would say as soon as possible. But beyond that, have fun in the ecosystem. Also try to. There's a lot of money that is always at play, left and right. But never forget that it's at the end of the day, we're all here for one core value is that we came here because we wanted to have fun. And I'm kind of, referencing what's happening on the timeline and how some people can get very toxic. And I think it's important that, everyone sometimes takes a step back from all of that because behind an avatar, behind a nickname, you have a real person with feelings. And sometimes these people may have a rough time with everything that's going on. So I would just say, take a step back and don't forget that, at the end of the day, we're all here having fun trading JPEGs for millions of dollars still, but we're still having fun. And yeah, no, that the best way to push the ecosystem is that if we grow together, because if we start splitting things right now, I don't think we're gonna go very far.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great last words, man. That's good.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
But yeah, okay. So I think thank you so much everyone for joining us today. If you haven't done yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like follow Rawr and the Frakt account on Twitter. All of the links are in the description, and you can directly follow them on Twitter Space. Like you have the pin tweet and like everything that you need. You already know how to do that. And yeah, again, like Rawr, thank you so much for accepting like the invitation. That was a great show, and I hope you liked it.
Yeah,
And yeah, man, like again, this channel is your home. It's going to be the home of a lot of people. We need to get a bigger home, but that's going to be fine. And yeah, again, like come back whenever you want. Like if you want to do another demo with like a new set of features that you want to launch on Frakt, like really happy to have you here again.
Awesome.
And
really
yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you again. And again, like thank you everyone. And we will see you in the next stream. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.